Special guest in because we like to have Australasian champions whenever we can, and it's Mathew Basso. How you going there, Matt?
Good, thank you, Neil. How are you?
Very, very good. So we've spoken a few times now, and when we last spoke, you were about to, I was going to say, tour around Australia for some of the championships. What we end up finding is that we'll give, spoiler alert, we'll give away the answer right at the beginning. But you end up winning Australasian Championship 4 in a row. Is that now?
Yeah, that's 4 in a row.
Right. And what was the category? Because I started to look this up yesterday, and it's not an easy website, the Australasian karting website. I'm getting lost here, so I thought, no, look, I'll just ask the question. It's a lot easier. So what's the category you're in at the moment?
So KA3 Junior Heavy is when I won the this year's Australasian Red Plate. It's a great track, held in Numurkah, Shepparton. It's a great little track and brings a whole lot of competitors from all over Australia and Asia, and it's a great event. Absolutely.
So when we last spoke, I think you were about to head up to Emerald in Queensland, if that's if my memory serves me correct. And that's about as outback Queensland as you can get, I reckon, Emerald. If you go to Rockhampton and you head inland about 500 kilometres, you'll find Emerald.
Yeah, that's right.
Tell me about Emerald first. We'll do a bit of a travelogue, and then we'll find out about the event you're in.
So I did really well at Emerald. I was able to get my first pole position qualifying in Nationals. Okay. So we were really happy about that, and I was also able to get another heat win again after round 2, because I got my first heat win at Puckapunyal at round 2.
Yep.
And then we had round 4 at Coffs Harbour, which didn't go to plan as planned as we would have thought.
Now, tell me a bit about Coffs, because surprisingly, just about 2 weeks ago, I was up at Coffs for a week. Sunshine, I like that to start with, and warmth. Whereabouts is the track there?
It's over, I don't actually know. It's kind of...
They have very good facilities in Coffs, I must say. Yeah.
Yeah.
The big sporting complex.
Yeah, they have a bunch of ovals and cricket fields.
That's a ripper. That's the south of town, not far from the airport. And they've put a lot of money into some very good sporting facilities. So I'm glad that they've got a karting track there.
Mm-hmm. They've also got a motocross track there too.
Okay.
You're like driving around on the go-kart track, and then you see a motocross and just go woo over a jump. Pretty cool.
So you're saying you didn't do quite as well at Coffs as you were hoping?
Yeah, we had some kart issues and mechanical issues, so I was able to get I don't remember the result, but we didn't do too well. And then we had round 5 at Oakley, which was my home track.
Yeah, now Oakley, of course, is where Oscar Piastri,
Oscar Piastri.
Piastri, that's his name. Yeah, I knew one of those F1 guys. That's where he grew up, isn't it? And was the champion there for many years. Yeah. So how does that work there? What happens at Oakley? Is that just another round in it? Is it or?
Well, it was a bit different because it was my home track, so I was able to have a little bit of an edge on my opponents.
Yep.
But we had again more mechanical issues and setup issues, so we actually weren't doing well. We qualified 16th. We were hoping for something like Emerald and maybe qualified nearly top 10 at least. But in the final, I was able to finish 7th. I drove the wheels off the kart, so...
So where did you start? You said you weren't pole, so you started 16th.
Started 16th.
And ended up 7th. So you've worked your way through the field a bit.
Yep, sure did.
Now, from what I've seen of karting, that's not particularly easy to do all that overtaking.
No.
What's the strategy you use to overtake?
Well, you kind of just... Because Oakley, it's a very tight and twisty track.
Yep.
But on the start, you make sure you're with the person in front of you. If they're making moves, you go with them.
Yep.
And then if something happens in front, you got to really look up through the field and see what's happening, see the argy-bargy and whatever, and make early moves, make early decisions and decision-making. So I was able to get quite a few people off the start and into turn 4, and just slowly pick them off one by one.
How many laps do you do of that circuit?
I think it was roughly about like 20 laps.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So it doesn't sound like a lot, but we do a lot of races, a lot of heat races.
Yeah.
But no, it was a cool to have it at Oakley, my home track.
Yeah.
They haven't had it there in a long time since regulations changed. So.
Okay. What have been some of the regulation changes? But I should mention those.
The tracks, like to hold a national round there, they have to be a certain length and whatever. So Oakley was traditionally 40-something seconds or 30-something seconds. So, and then they made a track extension to make it 40-plus seconds.
So that it qualified to be able to run championships and such.
Basically, yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. So you've done all of those. What happens after that? After you've gone to Oakley and started down near the bottom and work your way through the field and come 7th, which is it's very difficult. That's a challenge, I reckon, in itself. A lot different to being out in front and just going hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Nationals finished up now. I finished 11th in the championship. I was hoping to come 10th in the championship overall, but tried my hardest, had mechanical issues and card issues, so couldn't really. That's motorsport for you.
Yeah.
And next week I'm going to Norwell Motorsport Training Centre, which is a track in Queensland.
Okay.
And I'm going to be in a Toyota 86 learning to heel and toe. And so in an actual car, so it should be interesting.
Yeah.
And then in 3 weeks, 2 weeks, I'll be racing in the Australian Summer Series in karting. And it'll be in a new class in KA2, which are 125cc water-cooled engines. So they're super quick, really competitive and hectic field. It's great to watch. And round 1 of Summer Series will be held in Newcastle, and then round 2 in Todd Road, which would be good. Yeah.
So what sort of speed does this machine get up to?
They reach.
You're saying it's pretty quick.
Yeah, they reach 130 k's an hour.
Wow.
Top speed. They're the second fastest class out of all the karting classes out there. Okay. So, yeah, really fast, really hectic, and really competitive.
So, at the beginning, you mentioned K3 Junior Heavy. Let's break that down. What it all means. So K3. What's that?
KA3 is the type of engine, essentially. Yep. Junior is the age group.
Right.
And then heavy is the weight limit.
Okay. So the age limit, what's the limit that you're in junior?
So 16 and under.
And you're 14 still?
Yeah.
Okay. So 16 and under puts you in the junior. Heavy, when they say weight limit?
They're meaning, so I've got to remember, 142 kilograms.
Okay.
So that's the max. And because it's heavy, the driver has to weigh a certain amount.
Okay.
As long with the cart as well. So you can't put weight on the driver. It's got to be the heavy drivers, essentially.
Okay. Now, when we talked previously, you were talking about your health and fitness regime, which you treat very seriously, and so do your parents who are in the studio nodding a fair bit at this discussion. So just remind the listeners again of what happens, what you need to do to make sure that you're fit enough and fresh enough for these events.
So I do lots and lots of cardio, lots of exercises on my arms and abs, and a lot of running. But all of this just keeps you fit and be able to hold onto the steering wheel, be able to balance and keep that steering wheel smooth and all sorts of stuff.
Now, Mick, we watch a little bit of the F1. Vossi's rejoined us now. It always appears to me that the F1 drivers, they're only little. It always surprises me, and they've and the power they must, the power of the engines. Do you sort of notice that there? It's not as though they should be first ruck on the football team or anything like that.
Well,
Is there a theory behind that? Because if you look at like little people, I shouldn't say little people. That sounds really terrible. Short people.
Short, yeah.
That's it. It's probably marginally better. Short people, like look at someone like Sunil Gavaskar, Sachin Tendulkar,
and cricketers,
and cricketers as batsmen.
Yep.
So there's probably a science behind it, Neil.
So is it? Do you reckon that's to do with the weight of the driver in the F1 machine? Let's give that example.
Yeah, I guess height doesn't really matter in terms of karting or F1.
Yep.
Karting a little bit more because if how tall you are affects your weight, affects how you lean when you drive the go-kart. So you'll put more pressure on the tyres, I guess, and be slower, put more wear on the tyres. In cars and F1, it's not really...
Not quite the same.
No, because you've got however so thousands of horsepower behind you and you're in the middle. It's the car's weight compared to your weight. Your weight's not really... doesn't matter as much as karting.
Okay. Arms need to be important, do they? A bit of strength in the arms?
Yeah, a little strength so you don't yank the steering wheel or keep it nice and smooth and over bumps and stuff, keep it straight and all sorts of things.
Now, during our discussion about some of the events that you had and, the good ones and the bad ones, you talked a bit about some of the mechanical issues. What were some of the mechanical issues you've had to deal with this season? Of course, you have good years and bad years and things like that. Is it just sort of unlucky, or what actually happened?
A bit of both. So we had like carburetor issues, which is I don't know how to explain it, but it's like got to do with the fuel and the tuning and how it's run through the engine. Tire pressure issues, sprocket issues, which is when you change your sprocket, if you have a high sprocket, you'll have more speed on the straights. If you have a low sprocket, you'll have less speed on the straights, but more in the corners.
Better in the corner. Okay, so you've got to make some adjustments depending on the track. On the actual track.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So who does most of the work for you mechanically?
Definitely Dad.
Okay. Yeah. All right. And just remind people again on the fuel that's used.
Yeah, so we use unleaded 98, I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
And we put a special oil into it, I guess, and run it. And works good. But unleaded 98.
Okay. Well, and so essentially two-stroke. Yep. Okay. So I'm going to ask a dumb question because I've just got myself a hybrid car. Do you reckon there's any leaning towards in motorsports or in karting, electric or different forms? You reckon there's some? Is there any talk in that direction that you're hearing? And maybe you can grab that other mic and join us if you want to, but and press the little button on and you'll be right. Beautiful.
So the F1s have got like a hybrid engine.
Yes.
Which is powered by battery and also fuel. There is a lean towards karting in Europe at the moment. They're starting to bring out electric karts. Well, they call them electric, but they're battery powered karts.
Yep.
And I think everyone wants to try and go green, so they are trying
as much as it's possible within. Yeah.
I just actually think it's going to be a matter of time before we see supercars doing the same thing.
Yes.
I'm actually surprised that they haven't gone that way just yet. But I'm pretty sure in the next few years we're going to see that happening. Yeah,
interesting. Is that going to make any difference to the mechanics of the whole thing or not?
Yeah, I'll probably have to be a computer engineer or an electrician instead of a mechanic.
Sit down there with an iPad and figure out what's going on.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we already kind of do. So we download data from the go-kart. There's full telemetry, so we can see what the go-kart's doing just looking at a screen. Yep. Lots of squiggly lines and things like that. And then we make adjustments to the kart, just like I do in car racing, make adjustments to the vehicle to cope with or to suit Mathew's driving or the track conditions.
So, Mathew, you're sitting in the kart with your helmet on. Is that wired up so that some of the information that's coming through can be fed back to you?
No, it's actually illegal to have radio control in there. So
very interesting.
Yeah, you just got the helmet on. It's just you and the people around you, I guess.
So you're starting to learn a lot of, strategies and what you have to do it yourself. It's not as though something feeding net round the next bend, you've got to go hard.
You'd have a lot going on without actually having someone trying to send you a message. So you've actually got to concentrate hard on what you're doing in the first place.
Absolutely right. Yeah. Yeah, that sounds like that's the way it is. Now, one of the things we were going to talk about was Formula One, because, boy, there's been some stories just in the last week or two.
Sure has.
Daniel Ricciardo, he's didn't get his contract renewed. What any thoughts on that as someone who follows a bit of F1?
It was pretty sad, actually, to see him go, and I was a bit disappointed that Red Bull kind of, chucked him out midway through the season. They could have gave him a full season at least. He got a P4 finish this year. Of course, he hasn't been that consistent, but I thought it was slowly coming to an end his season or his F1 career. It could still be going on for him. It doesn't mean that just because he's Red Bull have dumped him doesn't mean he can't get another race for another team. But, he's had multiple race wins, multiple pole positions and podiums. It's definitely sad to see him go. Yeah,
so you sort of read stories about, he's, people are making different suggestions about what he could do, and of course he's got a bit of a profile, a bit of a personality. So I think that'll be an interesting thing to follow over the next 12 months. Where does Daniel end up? Yeah.
Liam Lawson's taking his position, so he's the
New Zealander.
New Zealander. He's actually quite talented, and he's actually got a unique story. He actually wasn't that fast in karting back in the day.
Okay.
But he stepped into cars and something clicked, and he was just a rocket on the track. Red Bull picked him up, and so he's gone to the Red Bull Junior team, and he'll be taking Daniel's position in F1, but so definitely to keep an eye on him.
Yep. Okay.
And you've got Oscar Piastri, the Australian.
Yeah, he's had a pretty good season.
He's
really,
had a really good season.
Yeah.
Rookie season, two career wins in his rookie season, which is amazing. But yeah, he's really fast. I met him before. He's an awesome guy, and
a local guy, really, isn't he? Oakley from Oakley Club. Yeah.
Yeah, he's calm and collective, and he wants to win.
I guess a lot of them do, but he's very. He does seem pretty good, and he interviews pretty well when you see them on the television. Yeah. So, because I know that deep down you're thinking, gee, I wouldn't mind moving in that sort of direction. Is that why? Now you mentioned before you're doing this in the summer series, you sort of, in a sense, branching out from karting. Would that be a fair thing to say, or how do you describe that?
The summer series, it's still karting, I guess, but it's more of it's a bigger event. So I'm trying to get my name out there, I guess. Waiting for a car team to maybe branch out to us. But yeah, we'll slowly branch out to cars, and we'll just slowly go up the ranks and see where it leads us.
So you mentioned something about cars before, and I didn't make myself a note like I should have. So tell us a bit more about that, which is sort of coming up.
Yeah, so Toyota 86. Yep. Great little car. Very fast. They have a whole racing series. They race with alongside the supercars, like in Sandown. The supercars just had their race. Toyota 86s were racing there with them as well.
Okay.
So not in the same race, but same weekend.
Same weekend, yeah.
Matt Hillier got the win. He's a great he's a great Toyota 86 driver. He's very fast. But yeah, I'll be learning when I go up to Norwell, be learning how to heel and toe, which is basically where you have your foot in the clutch, right?
Yep.
H-pattern gear changer.
Yep.
Press the clutch to go down into a gear and brake at the same time. But instead of doing that while braking, you have to slowly twist your foot onto the accelerator to put the revs up.
Yep.
And what that does is it stops the rear tyres from locking up as much or putting under so much pressure. And that makes makes your tyres last longer, essentially, so you'll be faster during a race because you'll have that extra little, I guess, advantage on your opponents.
Okay, so you're going to do that for the Toyota 86. Is that more? Are there actual events, or is this more about you learning a bit more about the craft?
There are Toyota 86 events, but I'm just going up there to learn the crafts of Toyota 86 and learning how to heel and toe. And if I go into another racing series like Formula V or something, they've got the same sort of format, H pattern, clutch, and I'll have to learn to heel and toe as well. So heel and toe, you basically need it as your second nature because you've got to do all the timing at the same time, and if you've got the accelerator going on at the wrong time while you're pressing the brake, it's just not going to help. It's going to put more pressure under your tires. So it's almost like I wish I learnt how to change gears while heel and towing. So
well, Mick, we always learnt in a manual car back in the day, but so many cars nowadays are automatics. We've probably forgotten how to do some of these things he's talking about.
Yeah, you know how old I am. and
not as old as me, I
can honestly say I have never driven a manual car in my life.
There you go. It's interesting. Because I learnt on a manual and then all of a sudden, well, they were saying that the autos weren't reliable. Nowadays, I think
my thoughts
they're
on
very, very reliable.
If they wouldn't have made automatic cars if it wasn't meant to be driven, that's the way I look at it.
Yeah, fair call. So you're learning all of these manual techniques, aren't you? Mm-hmm. Which is a good thing because it gives you a lot more options later on as you go. So, okay, you talked about Toyota 86. If you're to end up doing some racing in those, at what age do you need to be in and what stage of your career does that happen?
I don't actually know the ages. I'm pretty sure it's 15 plus.
Yep. Okay.
But yeah.
So do you need to get, I'm looking to Dad on this one as well, do you need to get a special licence in this regard?
Yeah, we do. So Mathew's already got a Motorsport Australia licence.
Okay.
When you're 14, you can get one. It's called a junior speed licence.
Okay.
So he can go out onto a track.
Yep.
But we're not rushing it.
No, of course not. Yeah.
So there are kids out there who are racing around a track at 14 and 15 years old. We feel as though that we just want to tick off some more boxes in karting and build up a bit more knowledge in the car area.
Yep.
And so next year we'll be doing a little bit more in the cars, and then in 2026, that's when we'll probably be stepping out of karting and doing more in cars, I guess.
Okay, and then work your way through maybe Formula V and
correct. So
all those sort of things. Work your way up.
Yeah, we'll probably start in Formula V or Formula Ford.
Yep.
Mathew has constantly said he'd like to have a roof over his head, which is fair enough. I would too. So at some point we'll step out of those open wheels and into a closed cockpit or a closed car, traditional car. But Toyota 86 is kind of like the next step before getting into Super 2, which is a step down below supercars.
Right. So all these things you talked about, next season or next year, which is next year, more karting by the sound of things and with a view to some of the things we've talked about.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
And just concentrating in that premier class, which is the KA2 junior class. That'll be his class for next year. All
right. Look, good luck for that again. Well done again.
Thank you.
Winning those, and it's a real challenge. You got to get enough points to get yourself into a final, and then you got to fire up on the final. So, talking about which, Mick, there's some final on this afternoon.
It's only a small game, isn't it?
Only a little game. We'll get a tip from all our guests in here. But you were leaning towards Sydney, you were saying before?
Yeah, I've got nothing against either side, so I don't really care who wins. But Sydney have been the side all year. I think Sydney probably wins.
Yeah, and I've sort of said how badly my selections have been. Anyone that I've picked has done badly. Sydney deserve to be favourite.
Well, I picked Brisbane last week to beat Geelong. I said they would beat.
I wanted them to win, but as I said before to one of our guests, I actually picked Geelong because I thought, well, that's the best way to see them lose. Proved to be correct. strange way of thinking.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. Sydney probably deserves to be favourite.
What a great day it is outside, though. It's
absolutely magnificent when you get a grand final set like this, about 22, 23
just hope
degrees.
it's like this in 7 days' time and the local cricket starts.
And then the local cricket, it is almost cricket. You could almost play today, couldn't you? You want to give a quick tip before we close up, Mathew? Footy? You don't probably follow it that much, but
Not really, but I'm kind of leaning towards the Lions this year.
okay.
Only because they missed out last year against Collingwood.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't really have anything against either side, but I'm looking forward to seeing what happens.
And what a cracker of a game. Yeah. Look, again, thanks for coming in. We better head off. We've got things to do ourselves, and so have you. I hope you really enjoy those Toyota 86 series and some of the other things, and we'll definitely catch up with you again as we lead into next karting season.
Yeah,
4-time champion. Well done to Mathew Basso.